Got a little rain work in today.
It didn't really rain out there. No. Wasn't that bad.
Doesn't rain inside there, right?
That's what Don Essex says. So.
Give a halfway of spring assessment.
I like our effort. I like our attention to detail. I think overall we're progressing. I'm really happy with where we are. There's little things here and there like there are with everybody, but overall assessment, I would say we're doing a nice job. The kids understand what we want to get accomplished and understand the mindset, what it's like to come out every day at practice. It's good. There's one or two kids at each position that aren't as consistent on it as we want right now, but they're still learning. So, but overall, I would say we're pleased.
Any scout team kids from the fall who picked up things really quickly?
There's no one that sticks out, to be honest with you. And that's good or bad. I wish I could say, yeah, this kid's just ripping it up, but honestly, there's no one that was. There hasn't been. There's no one out there that's. Guys that are doing great things are guys that are Deion Jordan doing great things out there. Well, Deion Jordan did great things last fall. Kenyon Barner is a special running back. Anthony Thomas is a pretty good player, but we haven't, and we need to get that. That's a good question. We haven't had some of those younger guys step up the way I think they should. And so we need to develop our depth at those positions. But our top players are playing at a top level though, so you're pleased. I guess the best way to say it, like going back to Rob's question, we're pleased, but you're not satisfied. You still need other kids to kind of step it up and match what the real leaders are doing. So.
Looking back at the 2 minutes that you did yesterday, do you feel like you successfully reinforced what you wanted to after 2
Yeah, and we had it scripted anyways. Our whole schedule for the spring is scripted, but it's how many different times do you put them in those situations when the clock's running and now it amps things up a little bit. So now you really got to think, and you don't have a timeout. And where are we right now? So if I have an opportunity on a run or a catch, do I want it to be 2nd and 8 inbounds, or will I take, we had a situation where a kid had an opportunity to go 2nd and 8 inbounds, or because it was a penalty on first down, so 2nd and 8 inbounds or 2nd and 12 out of bounds. In that situation, you want 2nd and 12 out of bounds because there's only 19 seconds on the clock. But they've got to understand that, in that situation, if it was a normal practice situation, you always want the kid heading upfield, but when the clock's running and no timeouts, if you're not going to get a first down, you got to get out of bounds. So anytime you can put those guys in that situation, you can talk all the time about different scenarios, but until they actually get in it, it's like, oh, okay, and now you got fun to teach it off of. So I think it is, but it's something you have to continue to always do. It's not like, hey, we touched on 2 minute once and we're going to be okay, we'll get back to it. We do it actually twice during the regular season, every Monday and every Wednesday, but because it's such a, playing the game and being in situations is so important. You hope that if something occurs in a game, I believe it's your responsibility as a coach. Have you ever put that kid in that situation?
So you did feel good? Better
I felt better, again, but we still got kids, some kids making mistakes, but they hadn't been put in those situations, so it's interesting. How many reps are you going to get, and is your entire practice going to be that? But we're getting better at that.
Is there one group of position that's ahead of the others?
No, because if you look at some positions, like there's 4 or 5 guys playing at a high level, but some other guys that I think should step it up. So there's not one group where the entire group is head and shoulders above everybody else. We've got considerable amount of kids coming back that have played almost every position, with the exception of probably quarterback and tight end. We've got experience. We've got experienced linebackers, we've got experienced D linemen, we have some experienced O-line, but there's not one group where everybody from 1 to 10 has really stepped it up. You'd say, hey, in this group, these 4 guys are doing a good job, but I wish these 2 guys would step it up a little bit more. So.
You mentioned those offensive linemen.
I'm on first.
All right, Fendrix. Sorry, man.
How has Armstead progressed?
He's done a really nice job. It's always interesting to see kids that come in early. And how do they handle it? And literally, some of those kids were in school on Friday and here on Monday, so it's an interesting process. We don't usually have too many of them, and we always leave it up to them. It's their choice. If they want to come in early, they can. Other kids, choose to finish out their senior year. But I think usually because we leave it up to the kids who come are pretty mature and they handle it. And I thought both him and Evan Bayless and Jake. Now Jake's been here for a little bit longer, so I think he's got a little bit better understanding. But I think all 3 of those kids got a maturity to them, and they've handled it real well. And I guess the biggest compliment to all those guys is you don't notice them in there. So it's not like there's a freshman that can't get lined up and they're running around just going, I have no idea what I'm doing. they both have a pretty good grasp of what we're doing, and I've been impressed with how smart, especially the two kids who just got here, are, because it's hard. It's really like going to another country and learning a whole new language. It's still football, but how we call it is obviously different than how he called it down in Sacramento, and different than how Evan called it out in Colorado. So, trying to process it for some kids, it takes a while. For other kids, I would argue that those two kids are ahead of some kids that were here last fall, but they picked it up pretty quickly. So.
Is Eric every bit as physically imposing as we would imagine he might be in practice? Or is he...
No, he just blends in. But we've got a pretty good defensive line, with Ricky and Taylor, but it's, he certainly can keep up with those guys. So.
Offensive line, you've got a guy like Ryan Clanton and some others who have played before, and now maybe we'll get the chance to move into a starting spot. How nice is it to have the luxury of having guys with experience ready to move up? You have that across the board, but specifically on the offensive.
It helps because that position is so critical. Experience is really, I think, in the O-line and the quarterback is so critical, because at other positions you can spot them. Like, hey, I can put this receiver in and we can run these 4 plays. He knows them real well. Now let's take him out. But you can't do that with an old lineman. Let's put him in and run these 2 plays, but take him out when we throw it. I think same thing with the quarterback. So the skill positions on offense, you can kind of piecemeal. What are they good at? What do they know? And let's get them in there. But now take them out what they don't know. With those guys, they've got to know everything. So it helps when you have some people like a Ryan Clanton or a Jake Fisher that got experience playing last year. They weren't technically starters. They didn't play the predominant amount of snaps at those positions, but there's a lot of carryover for those guys. And obviously, this spring's a lot different than last spring for Ryan, because there's a confidence level in him of, like, he understands. Or maybe last year he was waiting for Mark Asper to tell him what to do, or Darian Weems to tell him what to do. Now he's that guy telling the younger guys what to do. But it helps to have experience with those guys, and I think it's part of our system. Is that we want to develop depth, and the only way you're going to develop depth is to play those guys. You can't just play 5 guys and pray you're not going to get hurt. And if you don't get hurt, we're good. But if we do get hurt, oh my God, this kid's got to play in a game. I think we always want to play 7 or 8 linemen if they're capable, and being able to get Ryan into games and Jake into games and Carrington Armstrong into games, or 3 guys specifically, we had an opportunity to rotate through that. It helped us.
You have to replace Asper. Do you have anyone on your team that can save a life and raise 2 kids at the same time?
Save a life, raise 2 kids. Fluent in 2 languages, the best MC of any event we've ever had in our entire lives, whether it was the Olympics, anything we did as a team. We're going to miss him tomorrow at our bowling tournament. He was the hit of the bowling tournament, so there's big shoes to fill there. So because he was such a multi-purpose kid, just a great kid. So, but I understand. I think he's visiting an NFL team or something, so we'll give him a pass on tomorrow.
Go back to the guys that arrive in spring. I know it's up to them, but do you have any preference either way if they arrive in spring or fall?
I think it's up to them. I don't want them to miss that experience of being a high school kid, because you can't ever get that back. And sometimes I think people get too accelerated and they don't get to enjoy what's going on. But the rule says right now that they can come in as long as they can leave early. So if a kid wants to and is qualified academically, then. But we've never had a mass grouping of it, and I really think it's an individual decision. So.
Would you give them time off for the fall?
We do. We've sent every kid's got an opportunity to go. Actually, Eric's going home in a week or 2. But we've said kids. One thing we do. Kids go. We make sure that's a big point in the prom and graduation. We make sure they get an opportunity to get back, because I think that's an experience that they should have. And we understand where they are with it. So a lot of kids want to go back and walk at graduation, and we encourage all that. So every kid we've had since I've been here in the 3 years that has had the opportunity to go back, and I think most of them have taken the opportunity.